Welcome to Resounding, a podcast exploring the power of the arts in advocacy and in action. We talk with artists and activists, taking a deep dive into questions surrounding the causes of displacement, the strength and the vulnerability of people on the move, and the potential of the arts to shine a light on social injustice and impact people's lives for the better. My name's Darren Abrahams, and in this episode I spoke to Selam Amare, comedian, entrepreneur and co-producer of No Direction Home, a stand-up comedy platform empowering refugees, asylum seekers and migrants in London to use their lived experience to change perceptions through humour. Selam told me about her journey from audience member to performer to comedy producer and her drive to bring Ethiopian culture to a wider audience and promote it around the world. Hi, Selam. Fantastic to be here with you today. How are you?
Hi, Darren. Thank you so much for having me. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Great. It's a great pleasure. We're recording this in the middle of May, and actually I was out last night at the Brighton Festival watching stand-up. So this is a really great connection for me. I stand up last night and get to speak to you today in person. Love to know kind of more about you and your journey into stand-up and, you know, how you found comedy and what that means for you.
So, okay, how did I get into stand-up? Or I'll start my journey into how I got to London. So I was born in Sweden, never really seen like very many comedians or like didn't have anyone like that in my circle. Moved to London at the age of 10 and I was just kind of been immersed in like the world of entertainment here. There's so much going on every day. It's quite overstimulating.
Yeah.
No Direction Home is this comedy collective by Counterpoints Arts. So I happened to be in the audience towards the end of 2019, right before the pandemic. I was watching No Direction Home live at Camden People's Theatre. And I just remember being so inspired, like hearing from actual people from refugee and migrant backgrounds talking about their story. And like immediately that night, I had to email Tom, the producer, saying, how can I get involved? You know, my friends say I'm fairly funny. Let me try it out. Next thing I know, I've done a course, which is literally 3 1-hour sessions with Tom Perry.
Wow.
And then they were like, okay, you're ready. And I ended up performing 3 weeks to that date in the same venue. Very crazy.
That's amazing. So really by chance.
Completely by chance. Yeah. So we did a few performances before the pandemic, moved to Zoom, and yeah, I've been performing since then.
That is incredible. After 3 1-hour training sessions, you end up back on the stage where you saw yourself first of all. How did you manage that? Like, how does 3 1 hours of comedy training prepare you to do a stand-up? It would terrify me.
Well, this is the thing. They didn't actually tell us we would be performing within 3 weeks. So I just thought we had like endless sessions. I was really just enjoying the process of like writing, coming up with comedy, things that you not necessarily not funny, but interesting and making it funny. So I thought, okay, I know I've got some material. I've got anxiety, so this was my kind of therapy to try and do things out of my comfort zone.
Yes.
But it felt so good once it was done. So then I was like forever chasing that high of like the adrenaline afterwards.
Wow. Can you tell us a bit about the first things that you talked about? So what was comedy for you coming out of your own personal experience?
The thing that I like to do for fun is like challenge people's stereotypes, which tend to be negative. Mm-hmm. And then I also talk about like my own personal like identity struggle, being a second generation Ethiopian, not really relating to my dad. One of the things I do is when I come on stage looking like I pretend I don't speak English, which is very believable. And then I kind of break into my accent. I'm like, aha, I caught you, you see? And then also things like mentioning, so one of the things that's really refreshing about stand-up is No Direction Home in particular. We taught stand-up by a comedian so that we eventually become comedians and take his job. So that stereotype, immigrants are here to take our jobs.
Brilliant.
Just any way that I can, challenging people's stereotypes.
So as a second generation Ethiopian, I've adapted, Western culture. And sometimes I get jealous of my friends and their like ability to tell their parents that they love them. This is something I've never had. But I still try. I don't give up. So I'm always like, Dad, I love you. The response I get, thank you. I love you very much. Thank you very much. But I don't give up. Dad, it's a pandemic. You should tell me that you love me. I love you so much. Valfeligi, which means find a husband. What? This doesn't make sense. Find a husband. So do you have to find a husband for you to tell me that you love me, or no? Who wins here? Okay. Another thing, my dad doesn't understand my accent sometimes, hence the beginning bit. So I've kind of adapted this new way of communicating with my dad. I call it foreign accent syndrome. I only realised I did this, my friend noticed when I was on the phone to my dad. I essentially speak back to my dad as if I'd just learned English for the first time. That's the only way to communicate with my dad. It's a problem because if I don't, just when I received a missed call, I was, Dad, sorry, my phone died. Your friend died. No. Sorry, father, my battery phone finished. Oh, I understand. So this is like, you have to like navigate. It's a challenge.
I think it's really interesting that, you know, there's something here around taking back a narrative. You know, we see so much in the news at the moment about immigration and people going through the refugee experience, and so much of that is negative. And what I love about what you're doing is I love the comedy part of it, the humor part of it, because it does completely disarm people. It really changes things around. What have you seen in from the audience and from people's perspectives when you perform?
I think people just warm to it. Comedy is such an amazing tool for like breaking, I guess, tension. There's always something that I think people can relate to, even though if you've never been like through the same experience as a refugee might have coming from Calais, there is always going to be something there that the person can relate to. Yeah, it's just breaking barriers in that way. Quite a lot of other opportunities coming from that. So I've seen like people in the audience at the back of seeing someone perform being, hey, we've got this opportunity. Could you maybe speak at this event? Could you perform here? Like we've gone as far as being on a panel with Princess Eugenie.
Oh, yes.
It's very crazy. So yeah, no, it's a really amazing power.
Yes. Yeah, I think it is amazing when you go to see stand up. I mean, first of all, like there's the terrifying element of it is that how can somebody stand on stage and make other people laugh like that? But then I think there's a real power from the comedian standing on stage, because you control the whole narrative in that space.
Yes, exactly. I mean, sometimes it's out of your control. So that was kind of my goal, was to get so brave and strong that I'll get to the point that I'll bomb on stage, get heckled off, and be strong enough not to care. Now that I've done it, I don't think I'm ready for just that. There is kind of like an ego side to it. You want to be liked, and you can kind of get addicted to that feeling of
acceptance, respect. I don't know. There's many things wrapped up in that, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Can you tell us a bit more about the training itself? Like in those 3 hours, what was it that you did that then allowed you to stand on the stage and make people laugh?
Tom Perry, who'd give us like prompts. So a question, something interesting about you. So we started with something as simple as like a physical characteristic that you have. It's something that you've liked. So his advice was always just be interesting, not funny. The funny will come later.
I watched a couple of your videos. I saw that in both those videos you talked about names, about Ethiopian names. Yeah. I thought that was really interesting.
So my name means peace. Like that's the way Ethiopian kind of name their child based on what's happening at the time or a physical trait. So yeah, for me, I love my name. Peace is a lovely thing, but I've kind of embodied it. So I cannot physically handle conflict. That's one thing. Like if someone argues with me, I've become a really great runner. That's how I deal with it.
Yes.
Another reason my name is actually, that's a really, really simple one, because we all talk about our names. It also means hello, Selam Alaikum. And Ethiopians love to like greet other Ethiopians they don't know on their street. So because I've got anxiety, I'm super awkward and shy, introvert. I'm constantly on the lookout for Ethiopians coming to me to greet me, to say hello. So I'm always like, Salam, yeah. How did you know my name? Yeah. Yes, the name was a really simple one. We all just spoke about our names. That's like a good 3 minutes into a
Brilliant.
set now.
And it's interesting. I think also what's great about this is that you give us an insight into Ethiopian culture at the same time.
Yes, exactly. I mean, there were other people who weren't as lucky as me, right? My dad's lucky, Amare. He was beautiful. Other like male names, you know, if a baby was born quite on the heavy side, Kebere, which means he was fat.
Oh wow!
If it was someone like who was born like the last to be born, the youngest, Segeya, he arrived late. That's his name. So
Yes.
it's just they're very creative with names.
That's fantastic.
So I'm just getting so much material just based on my own culture. I haven't made up any of this. I'm literally just repeating what's their norm.
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's like, again, as Tom said, just be interesting rather than be funny.
Exactly.
And the humor comes out of just being interesting.
Yeah. What does Darren mean?
So Darren it's actually, my mum's Israeli. So it's in Hebrew, Doron means a gift. Because I was brought home on my parents' second wedding anniversary.
So you really are their gift to them. So maybe it's the same in Israeli culture.
Which is really cool, actually. Who were when you were training, what other kinds of participants were there? What other cultures were represented? Who else? And who's continued in that journey with you?
Yes. So we have Kurdish, Syrian, Iraqi, another Ethiopian. Like it's really diverse. Polish as well. Most of them have come from an acting background. So I think that's quite common. Actors can I don't know if I can speak for them, but it's not too much of a shock from acting into comedy. I don't think it's quite common.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have either kind of arts backgrounds at all. I studied architecture. I just wanted to do something out of my comfort zone, but comedy led me into producing comedy. And before that, I was producing like Ethiopian music events in London, grassroots, community focused. So I've always been on the organizing side. This kind of forced me out.
Very, very brave, actually.
Oh, thank you.
I'm seeing that a lot of your other projects are around promoting or developing Ethiopian culture here in the UK.
Yeah, yes.
I'd love you to talk about your other projects. How about Asmari Bet to begin with, because it's really related to the performance side.
Absolutely. My dad kind of installed this strong sense of identity in me. I was born in Sweden. There weren't that many Ethiopians. So he kind of created a community, and he would organize these weekly Ethiopian music events where we would learn the dances. He taught us Amharic. So then I guess looking back now, that's probably the reason that I'm also now trying to do that for the next generation. When I organized this event, I hadn't been to an Asmari bit in Ethiopia myself, so I was just jealous of my friends coming back and hearing about these fantastic cultural hubs in Ethiopia where essentially the artist, the Asmari, he or she, they kind of freestyle to the audience based on, again, the physical characteristic. I guess it's comedic roasting, but to a cultural beat. So they will go around the audience, mainly foreigners, and say, hey, look at this person looking like, I don't know, whatever funny thing in the spot related to that person with the name. So I thought that's such a unique talent. It's freestyling rap to the music. So I thought I need to bring this here. I haven't seen anything like it in London. What tools do I have? And in the same way, how can I platform underrepresented artists who are here? They have the skills. Most of them haven't really had commercial, they haven't been promoted in a commercial way. So that became my role. And I've not really had funding. It's all been out of my own pocket, praying that ticket sales mean that I can break even. Arts Council,
yes.
If you're listening, please, can you just accept one application? So that's what I've been doing since May, every 4 months.
Amazing. I hadn't realized that it was a kind of rap, that it was to music and to a beat.
Yeah, I mean, it's more singing. You have to be, they're really quick on the spot, or they must have something prepared, but it's very unique to each individual. You are more than welcome to come to our next one. It's on the 26th of May in Rich Mix.
I would love to come to the next one. That sounds fantastic.
That's how Asmari Bit came, the idea came. But I also platform up-and-coming Ethiopian, who are not necessarily performing cultural things, but are just in the music industry, or giving them a platform too.
Great. And is there food as well? I think I read that it was a kind of a cross between a bar and a performance venue and things. So tell us about food. I love Ethiopian food.
So we have food. We have local kind of caterers, Guarda Kitchen in Dalston. They come and provide injera. I don't know if have you had injera before? It's like, yes, you have.
Indeed, yes.
Yay. And then also, most importantly, I don't know if you drink, but we have Dej, which is a honey wine. It's very, very alcoholic, but it doesn't taste like it is. So we have those two cultural elements as well.
And that kind of leads, I think, to your other project, Selam L'Ethio, with care packages. And can you tell us a bit about that? Because there's some amazing food products on your website.
Selam L'Ethio, the website, it was kind of born out of not being able to do these events during the lockdown period. So I had all these amazing businesses and I just leveraged my existing relationships with them. I thought I need an online business to ship all their stock, promote their goods, take a small commission and like ship it all over the UK. Some people bought things in America. Don't know how they found me. Yes. But yeah, no, that was just a not-for-profit born out of sheer boredom during the pandemic, not being able to organize entertainment. So that's how that website. Yes, we've got like teff pancakes by Lovegrass pancake mix, which is teff is this grain that's naturally gluten-free from Ethiopia. Yeah, so it's really good for you. Lovegrass is one of my favorite companies or businesses. So they also do like teff pasta. Yeah, so I wanted to just champion my existing connections with these businesses.
It's really wonderful. There's some lovely things, also poetry books. So it's a mix between literary culture and food culture.
Yes. Actually, yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Lemon Cisse, I realised he's quite a big deal. So I accidentally met him and I somehow managed to convince him to come to Asmaribit and do his official book launch there at a fraction of what he normally charges, which is crazy when I think about it. So his poetry book, an Ethiopian anthology that he's featured in, is also on the website. I wanted to give a shout out an important business, it's a social enterprise that when you mentioned poetry book, Market 54. So it's this amazing entrepreneur who she kind of channels African narratives by platforming books from the continent, African continent. So, but they're ebooks, so really accessible, amazing little social enterprise that I was also trying to help sell.
So there's these two fantastic projects, and we mentioned a little bit earlier about No Direction Home, which has come out of Counterpoint Arts. So I'd love to ask you about your connection with Counterpoint Arts, and just to explain to our audience who they are and what they do here in the UK, and then talk about No Direction Home, because I know you're producing now as well. You're producing the whole platform that you started out in.
Yes, this is the crazy thing. Okay, so Counterpoint Arts, the charity organisation, they are leading national organisation in the fields of arts, migration and cultural change. They have several kind of strands. As you know, like I kind of just fell into comedy forcefully with them. But since then, had the chance to like produce with them. So for me, it's really important to just have people tell their stories. It's really humanising the refugee experience. It's not us or them, I don't think. It's us collectively. So for me, it was really, really important to work with them. I'm learning so many skills as well. As at the back of this, I created an Ethiopian and East African comedy thing as well. So they really champion personal development. Like Tom Green has kind of been mentoring me with that.
How have you ended up in this position as producing the project?
I think by luck, really. I have the existing connections now with my cohort and the previous cohort. Basically, us, the older cohort, we've kind of become trainers. So we've learned, kind of trying to teach new people to like pave the way, essentially.
So within 3 years, you've come from literally just turning up at a comedy gig to going on stage as a stand-up to producing the whole event to training other comedians. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know if I can say I'm a trainer just yet, but I've had instances where a comedian was supposed to perform at the Soho Theatre and I think she got cold feet. So then I didn't know that this was part of my job, but I found myself like booking some time, like, let's go through your comedy set. It's going to be great. These are the hits, the marks that you need to hit to be funny. And then she came and smashed it. She didn't take any of my notes. She did even better. So yeah,
Yeah.
So I don't know if I can take credit for that at all. But yeah, it's just all of these things I've just kind of fallen into. It hasn't been an official job application other than that email asking Tom to put me on. It's been really organic. I'm so grateful. Now that comedian that I just mentioned, actually, I'm now helping her produce her theatre show. I know nothing about theatre. This is literally fake it till you make it.
Coming back to kind of comedy itself in terms of fulfilling dreams, what do you see changing in the discourse around the refugee experience for audiences and for artists themselves?
I guess as more and more people kind of come from these kind of projects, it will be normalized. That's one of the things, isn't it? Being like relatable. I don't think it should be a case of us versus them. I don't want to be political, but we kind of saw a receptiveness when it came to like Ukrainian refugees, especially so close to home. It really showed kind of the contrast and how much work we have to do here. And I feel like art and entertainment is the best platform for change, for social change in this instance. But there is a lot of work to do here for sure. And it doesn't help that there's less and less funding.
Absolutely. Do you feel it's important to kind of keep that identity as I'm going to say refugee in inverted commas, or would you like to transcend that? Like, how do you feel about having that label?
I feel like the label comes with negative connotations, right? I want to reclaim the label. So my dad came to Sweden as a refugee. Back then, it was seen like a noble thing. My dad was one of the strongest people I know. He came as like a student political activist, fighting against like a dictatorship in Ethiopia at the time. And Sweden was very much receptive, welcoming people like him at the time. He came via plane. It wasn't what it is today. Now the climate is really kind of hostile. There's only one way of coming in, and you're not met with open arms after you've been through everything. And it is really, really, really sad. So I think we need to reclaim the word refugee. It's not something to be ashamed of. It could be any one of us. You can see what's happening in Ukraine. I just hope. Yes. Well, I am hopeful. I believe that hostile narrative, it has to go. I'm not stopping until it's gone.
I'm with you. One laugh at a time, I think.
Yeah.
Comedy is the way. I think we talked about it a little bit earlier, but I think comedy is so interesting because it cuts through so many stereotypes.
Yes, exactly. And like through a tongue-in-cheek way, you could be saying some really important things. And I feel like the audience, they will like laugh and then be like, hold on a second, what? So I feel like there's lots of room for me to work in this area. So it might be a small area, but for me, it's the biggest. That's my overall mission, I think, promoting Ethiopia through this event.
Fantastic. Great. Yeah. So what are next steps for you? Like what are you developing next? You said the next Selam Amare bet is on the 26th of May, but if people can't make it because that's quite soon, yes. What are the plans coming up for that?
So I try to do this every 4 months, 3 to 4 months. So the last one was in like Ethiopian Christmas in January. We're mainly based in Rich Mix. I've one time managed to like branch out and do the Jazz Cafe in Camden. And next steps, I guess, if I could get funding, I would want to do like a tour around the UK because now I'm very much kind of limited to London. Possibilities are endless, but I do know that at the moment I am limited by my pocket. So there's only so much I could do with my own money.
So big shout out here for funding.
Yeah.
Like anyone's listening and wants to promote Ethiopian culture globally, which is I think what I'm hearing is Selam's ambition, get in touch.
Please. No pressure, but equally, here are my bank details.
Awesome. Since we can't share bank details, how about we're going to put all the links and things into the show notes, but where can we find you? Tell us kind of what your websites are. Where can we find you on social media? How do we follow you?
Okay, yeah. So on my website is Selam L'Ethio, LE. So like Selam the Ethiopia, I guess, .com. And then same for Instagram, Selam_L'Ethiopia. Facebook, Selam _Ethiopia. Very confusing. You'll find me generally Selam L'Ethiopia. And also follow Counterpoint Arts for more comedy events.
Great. And tell us when the No Direction Home stand-up is going to be. Is it during Refugee Week?
Yes. So we've had one in the beginning of April. The next one is the 22nd, Monday. In this case, I think it might be too late. The 22nd of May, the Soho Theatre. And then the 26th of June, also Soho Theatre. I think we'll be returning in autumn, which is exciting. And yes. Eventually it feels like we're getting bigger and bigger from Camden People Theatre, which is a pub in Camden, to Soho Theatre. Yeah.
I think we need to catch you now while we can still afford to catch you.
No, I'm free most of the time. I'm very cheap.
Are you performing at each of these events?
I'm performing in the final one, in June. 7 minutes. So you are welcome.
That's fantastic. We'll share those details as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Amazing. Well, thank you for your time. But it's been a huge pleasure to speak to you and to find out about everything that you're doing, and we will definitely come and support you in your next stand-up venture.
Thank you so much, Darren. It was really nice to meet you and to speak to you today.
Fantastic. I hope we'll see each other again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Resounding is brought to you by the Art27 Network, a network of like-minded initiatives using art and culture to respond to the ongoing crisis of displacement of human beings in Europe and around the world. To find out more and to join our growing network, you can visit our website, art27.art, or follow us on Facebook at art27. This podcast was produced and edited by Ed Holland. The theme tune was written by Matteo Gillespie in collaboration with Synca. Thank you for listening.